hours of work, we need to get on with it.
I guess you go ahead and start, Bill, he's not answering. You didn't answer, you want to go ahead and start?
Storm report, sure. Are we gonna, we're gonna be live or are we live?
You good yet, Bill?
Yeah, we're good. Ready when y'all ready.
There he is. Excuse me.
Last meeting ran just a tad long.
All right,
No, I don't. There's one on skips.
I'll put it over there.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Can't live out of code zero,
Why do you move from the seat?
cause it's bill meeting.
All right, thanks everybody for coming for the Transportation and Utilities Committee meeting. It is now 4:05, and this meeting will come to order. The first thing I just want to just take a brief moment to talk about the what we've done transportation-wise. We had a meeting last week, or GDOT had a meeting, and the city attended on the tie-in at Tommy Lee Fuller and State Route 20, and I'd say we got some good news. Their analysis is done, and based on what we've shown them, that we would be eligible for a traffic signal at that location. That's a huge hurdle that we've crossed now, but there's still a bit of hurdles in our way. We've got to get GDOT, you know, they want to see some commitments from us as far as to ensure that Tommy Lee Fuller is going to come through there and tie in, and if they're at Publix. So Danny already has meetings lined up the next few days with property owners about this, and I guess the next step for us is going to be to actually get the engineering going, because we need to get that design underway, because they have to tie it in. It's been just to say how good this is, though, is that we have the agreement on the limits of where it's going to go. This new traffic signal. The current design is going to have to be modified. GDOT agreed that they'll take care of getting their plans modified. They're still taking care of their right-of-way acquisitions along there. We got to do our best to get our project so it ties in at the same time. And just like Danny wants, he wants this thing to where it all comes together, so when it gets ready for the actual letting process, that our plans are there and they can be let by one contractor. So that's about it. You know, Danny, you have anything else, did you? So y'all have any questions on that? I think that's a pretty big step for us. All right, so moving on, as you know, so the new business is to discuss the utility rates and for water and sewer. And Danny and Brandon have prepared a presentation. You all have hard copies on the table. Danny and Brandon are going to walk through this and start off talking about what the need is, and put a solution to adjust the rates accordingly.
All right, so good evening. I appreciate y'all coming out and meeting with us this afternoon.
Talk into that just a little. I can't hear down here.
Okay. All right, so I appreciate y'all coming in and meeting with us this afternoon. Bill said Danny and some of our staff have been working on these water rates for a couple months now. We're trying to come up with different ways to try to make this to where it's beneficial for the customer, and also to where the city can have some revenue there for some projects that are really in dire need. So we've come up with this presentation here to present to you guys. This is going to be our water, sewer, and some stormwater stuff's in there as well that we'd like to discuss. So our revenue, you know, our department is self-supporting. It's not funded from tax dollars. It's our water, stormwater, our treatment plant, and our wastewater department. You know, it's based solely off of our revenues, of course. Our revenue is obtained through a variety of ways, you know, through our tap fees, sewer and water sales, capital recovery fees, our septic dumping fees, and some other miscellaneous fees as well. But, you know, water and sewer, those sales produce the most revenue. The ebb and flow of tap fees are controlled by new construction and growth. These are some major factors affecting our revenue. Water main service line breaks, those result in non-revenue water. And then seasonal water consumption is affected by weather. For example, reduced sprinkler use during the frequent rain events and watering bans through droughts. Our infrastructure. Our water and sewer piping and components have recommended life due to age and material. And the current age, and the majority of our infrastructure is 20 plus years old, and that would be water, sewer, stormwater. Here's some capital improvement projects. These are some of the main ones that we've done over the last 25 years. We've had two at the plant, wastewater treatment plant, one in 2012 and one in 2021. We had a water main extension. It's across the street from Loganville Ford, the Porterfield property. We had a 12-inch main there. The main coming from Monroe, which is our main water source now. The Claw Brewer Booster Pump Station, which is another feed from Walton County. That's our secondary water source. And then the most current one is the Breckenridge, the stormwater project, the pipe that went under the road and washed out. That was our most recent project that we have completed.
So real quick too, right there, and I know you're going to get to your list on the next page, but is this, you've identified the other corrugated metal pipe installations around that need to be prior to replaced. Are those going to be on this list, or?
Those are minor, but we've already went to council and got those 5
Okay.
crucial ones approved. This is in the
Okay.
process now.
Okay. That was for the engineering for those, right?
Engineering, yes. You can talk about it.
Go ahead.
Yes, that was for the engineering, so to come out and engineer what would cause, and then it'll go out to bid, but they're in the process of doing those currently.
But I guess what I'm recalling is we at council approved the funding for the
The
engineering,
engineering.
but not for the construction.
That's correct, because we don't know the cost at this time.
Right.
So those are not in the top, next slide, the 11 projects.
Yeah, that's okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
you're gonna see we have a lot of projects that we could do, the revenue seems to be the issue.
Right. And
Just note that these projects were all, for the most part, except for the Porterfield, was bond-related and ARPA-related funding.
Okay, yes, so on the next page, we have, no capital improvement projects were requested for the 2025 budget. So we have 11 that we need to do. This is on the next page here. I guess everybody has this. If you'd like me to go through these, I will.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
talk about all of them, please.
So the Chandler Hawk lift station, the force main, we're currently moving forward with that now. It's been engineered, and we are in the process with that project due to emergency. That pipe is deteriorated. It's ductile iron. It's 25-plus years old. Oh, thank you, Dean. The library lift station enforcement upgrade, that station was installed in 1980. It's 43, 44 years old. We've had a lot of maintenance on that project. lift station, and that really needs to be, this is another one of our main projects that we'd like to look at the wastewater treatment.
Brandon, I'm sorry, that's the current library, right? The current, where the library current sits?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Not the proposed
Yeah,
location?
it's the
Okay.
current, yeah.
So, and what all does that take? What does all of that feed from it? Publix, I mean, how,
Yeah, well, basically, like the new Caribou Coffee, Chili's, that area there all feeds into it. Some right there at the library, some areas there on the corner, the library goes into it, of course. Some areas, in Publix shopping center area, some of that stuff goes to it as well.
A lot of your retail big box.
The wastewater treatment plant, we have a panel, electrical panel down there that's original to the plant. It's in dire need of replacement as well. We're having electrical issues, constant repairs on that. Holly Court lift station, that's another one that's about 44 years old. It's in the same condition as the library. Those are our two oldest pump stations that we have, the Holly Court and the library. So, but with the Holly Court, what we'd like to do is decommission that pump station and install a gravity main that runs to the Huntington Bridge pump station, and basically just do away with the Holly Court basin there, and it can all go to another pump station.
that's one that we went out for the grant a year or so ago, right? Okay.
The Ray Road to Lee Bird Road sewer outfall, we've had problems on that outfall. We've had to make some repairs on that line. It's an old terracotta line. I would say it was installed probably in the 60s. We've had several issues out there in the recent years. That's the main gravity feed. I'd say probably about 50% of the city goes down that sewer line to the plant. From there, from Ray Road all the way to the treatment plant would need to be upgraded from terracotta pipe. And the pipe size would also need to be increased as well. Yeah, we've tried that for a couple years through our CDBG. We tried to get some funding for that, but it fell through. We weren't able to get any monies for that, so. All right, the Atlanta Highway to Lee Bird, extending that water main, the one that I mentioned earlier, extending that from Miramart area all the way to McDonald's. Would increase that size, and it also increase the flow to our tanks and give us more pressure on our system. That Lee Bird and 4639 Atlanta Highway is part of the same project. Would be increasing that main and allowing that flow from the Monroe water line to increase. And it'll be able to increase our pressure and also be able to fill our tanks up a lot quicker. Main Street and Broad Street, behind the shopping center there. There's a 2-inch main, it's galvanized, it's pretty old and needs to be replaced. We would like to run a new 2-inch behind that shopping center, and then reconnect all those parcels to that main. And then you've got Terra and Toller subdivisions, those two projects. Those are where we have most of our leaks. Our guys are constantly in there making repairs. We would like to, well, I'd say probably 12 years ago, we've done the same thing in Fox Chase subdivision. We had all the service lines replaced because of the same issue we were having with constant leaks. So we would like to do the same thing in Terra and Toller subdivisions, from the main to the meter. Do you have any questions on those projects?
I have a question. Bill said earlier that, I think you said also Chandler Hawks in progress.
I'm sorry?
Chandler Hawks in progress?
Mhm.
Is that 1.8 million part of ARPA? Is that, it could be. Or capital, okay. So none of the 10 million of the total capital costs we have earmarked from anywhere, or are those from ARPA? We're gonna do some from ARPA?
We could, yes.
Okay.
An option.
Brandon, does any of this involve the Whataburger development, and will this take care of their needs?
They won't really be affected with what's there now. I mean, they're able to They may have to do some upgrades, I mean, depending on what they plan to do, but and we have sufficient utilities there for them to be able to
Okay.
connect to now. But I
Okay.
don't know, based off the drawings, I don't know what they're going to be requesting, whether or not there will be some sort of an upgrade, but there's utilities in the area.
Okay, thank you.
All right, financial sustainability. Due to the increase of expenditures during the current fiscal year, the utility department is requesting an increase in the utility rates to sustain future operating requirements. We've been relying on ARPA pretty heavily to do some of our projects, and I know that those funds will run out by the end of 2025. Funded items to date through ARPA is 1.2 million. Earmarked projects through ARPA is 1.8 million. And then what we have remaining is the 1.8, as you see there.
We've said it a bunch of times, but the ARPA money has to be identified, I mean, it has to be by the end of this year and then expended by the end of the next year. Okay,
Earmarked.
right, okay.
Okay, residential rates. In 2020, the combined water and sewer rate increase was 88 cents or 2%. That's 45 cents for the water and 43 cents for sewer. We have a comparison here in 2010. Yeah, this is non-seniors, which we'll be getting to that in the next slide. But this is just normal residential rates. In 2010, the water and sewer minimum bill was $39.10. And then currently, it's $44.80. So you can see it's only gone up $5.70 in the course of 14 years. And that's the equivalent of 14.5%. In 2010, the operating expense for enterprise was $4,199,697. And in 2023, it was 8.8 million. And then over a 14-year span, it's nearly doubled, as you can see there, at 109%.
When you say operating expense,
So I'll hit on this because this is part of the slide I
Okay.
did. So in 2010, that was actually what we spent to operate those four departments, the stormwater, sewer, water, and water quality. That's what they actually spent. Now,
when you
what was-
say actually spent on their day-to-day, like day-to-day
For
things,
that-
this
for
doesn't
that
include
fiscal
any
year-
projects.
No, for that fiscal year in 2010, whatever they did in those four departments, that's what it totaled,
Including projects.
including everything. No, I mean, I'm sure there was some stuff they did in 2010, but that was straight from the financial audit. So in 23, last audit we just had, we spent $8,805,156. So that's what it took to actually, that's the checks we wrote out to fund whatever we did for fiscal year 23. So if you take those two 14 years time differences, we have increased 109% just in expenditures. Our budget has grown that much. It's another way to look at it. But our revenue, I'm just showing that our revenue has only went up 14.58%, or $5.70. Now, there are certainly other revenues in utilities, but the top ones are the ones we're identifying. You got late fees, but, as far as the large operating revenues that produce that money is sales of water, sewer, stormwater, and tap fees. Tap fees are the ones, it's the wild card, because we don't know when they come or when they don't come. It's based on development.
Right, but of this $8.8 million in 2023, how much of that was like projects, emergency repairs and things like
I would have to
projects?
pull the report, not much.
'Cause what I'm trying to find out is what just the operating, like just the day-to-day
That's right.
general, but I'm not talking about with including the projects.
No, that's payroll, that's staff, that's repairs and maintenance, that's chemicals, that's fuel, that's everything it takes to operate those four departments, that's what we spent
In 2023.
in 2023.
Okay.
But if you look at the list before,
That also, Danny, includes the buying of water too, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's, when I say major projects, I mean projects over $100,000, $200,000. There's certainly, we did pump repairs, pump replacements, you know, we just did one last year that was 60,000, it's not on there. So large ticket items, done 6 in 14 years. Historically, we have not done work outside of the plant because it's just, quite frankly, it's costly. But infrastructure is catching up with time limit. It's hitting now, as you saw Chandler Hawk pump force main, 23 years old, and we just, you know, got approval to engineer it to replace the entire mile of that system. So we're gonna have more and more of these. So the goal is to get a bond to support these projects instead of piecemeal them and doing one at a time over the next 10 years. We're gonna have to look at getting some money to do these projects. That's where we're leading y'all to is, but we gotta have revenue to do that, because right now, this revenue wouldn't support an additional payment.
You're gonna budget for it, not have to be reactionary.
Yes, that's correct.
So what, just that, you were back on that Claude Brewer, how much was that project?
The Claude Brewer or Chandler Hawk?
Claude Brewer, the one that
The
done
water line?
23.
That was 1.6 million, give or take.
Yeah,
That's what was budgeted. I think we've actually spent 1.3 million, there's still 300,000 that we're debating.
Sure.
And then Monroe was, it was the remainder in 3 million plus the 18 bond, you know, went to go fund that, but we ran out of money, so that's why we did a supplementary bond in 2019. But what we have bonded is, Natalie, full amount, 19 million?
Yeah.
That's what our bond,
2018 was a little over 15, and 4.5 was 2019.
that's what we're paying on currently. And then you'll see the senior rate, very similar to the residential rate. It's 14.8% or $5.10, but you can see their minimum $34.45, and then currently what they're paying, that minimum includes 2,000 gallons of water and sewer. So if that's all they use, that's the bill you get, your minimum bill. And then, but still, the operating expense still the same for all 3 categories.
At what age do we do the seniorities? At 62? What year's that?
62? Yes, 62.
so, and then, how, do they have to apply for it? Or-
Yes.
Okay,
And that number is continually growing.
right, and then,
And I will add, we're the only
Well,
entity
that was
that does this.
my
And
next
I'm gonna show you all the entities that we surveyed. We're the only one. But I agree, it would be impossible, it wasn't impossible, it would be difficult to get rid of. So we didn't choose to get rid of it, but we said 12% increase is what we're gonna be asking for, we're gonna get to it across the board for everyone. So it'll adjust their rates. Commercial, as you can see, they're a little bit less than 14%. They're $12.50 or $6.02 from 2010 to 2024. That is the minimum water bill is $54 now versus $48.10. Or it went up $1.06 in 2020. Now, this is what we're proposing. 12% on all utility rates. Include your base charge, your tier structures for water and sewer, and for stormwater fee. And then we'll show you what that looks like. So the first one, the blue slide, is your water. The current rate you can see for the first 2,000 is $23.04. That's your minimum bill. You have a minimum bill for senior, you have a minimum bill for commercial. Anything outside of the 2,000 gallons, it hits the tier structure. You can see below, the current tier is $6.66, $8.30, $13.27 for residents. Seniors, $6.32, $7.89, $12.61. Commercial, $7.98, $9.54, and $14.60. These tiers became important back in 2012, I believe, when City of Loganville became a water first community. That was one of the requirements, is you got to charge more in tiers to deter people from using so much water. That's the intent of water first, correct? and that was done in, I believe, 2012. Green is the sewer rates. You can see the column in the middle, the current rate, and then what we'll be requesting, the new rate, that is all 12%.
On this spreadsheet, I think it should be, in the last one too, up to 2,000, up to between 2001 and 8,000, 8,001 to 14, 14,000 to 20, and then more than 20? Is that right? Okay. Huh?
That's how the tiers are.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the difference in tier 2 and tier 3?
It's the way, so he's just copying our rate. They just copied our rate table the way it's set up, but it's anything over 14,000 is third tier. So
I know.
14,001 is third tier.
I'm just being picky on the up to 14,000 and then up to 14,001.
Oh, okay.
We just need to make it clear if we're gonna, right?
Right.
You know what I mean, right?
This is the way the Tyler has it set up, so this is how, so anything
Yeah.
over 14,000 goes to the next tier.
She just doesn't like the word up. She would rather it
Yeah,
be
wouldn't it say
14,001
between?
and up.
Okay. I mean, your bill doesn't show that, it's just, this is how it shows in our software
Yeah.
in order to bill. But
So what if it's 21,000 gallons?
then it would be tier
3.
up to 14,000, and anything over 20,000. I guess I'm not following you.
I'm with you, it's confusing.
Yeah, so up to rather than over.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You want to change the wording. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm with you, like, it's kind of weird, like, this is up to 14, but then the next one's up to 14,001.
Yeah, it needs to be over 14,000. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay. Yep, we'll fix that. But that is the currently how it operates. Reuse, we have it. We have one subdivision currently. They don't use the water, but they do pay the minimum. So we did increase that by 12%. And that would be the new rate. Current rate's $15. First year is $3.20, and then you see it's just add 12% on top of both of those. Stormwater, your residential lots, it's $5 a lot. Commercial, it has a formula. It's the square foot divided by 3,000 times the $5. So both of those would go up 60 cents per month. This is the graph that shows you where we can hit with all the other entities. So this is all the other entities that we reviewed using 2,000 gallons of water and 2,000 gallons of sewer. Now, the note to that is Walton County. You see Walton County is $51.11. Well, Walton County does not have water. That is strictly water. I mean, they don't have sewer. So for us, we're providing water and sewer, and most of these other entities do have sewer and water. But you can see for resident, we're right in the middle. The red is the current rate for Loganville, depending on if you're a senior or a resident. And then our green was what we would propose with the 12%. So you'd go from $44.80 to $50.17.
Back up one slide, just before I forget this. So, commercial rate, it's $5 minimum right now, but it's based on square foot divided by 3,000. So if it's 3,000 square foot commercial, it's $5.
Yes.
If it's 6,000 square
It's for
feet,
impervious surface, so they would, it goes off of, they had measured parking lot and stuff like that.
right, so if it's 6,000 square feet, it's $10. So it's not 60
Well-
cents. 60 cents wouldn't be 12%, it'd only be 12% if it's 3,000 square feet. If it's over 3,000 square feet, then you've got to prorate that 12% as well.
Yeah, they may have to explain to, I don't know, they do this themselves, or, so I don't know. Y'all want to talk about that?
We can fix that. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions on that one before I move on? That's residents, water and sewer.
Well, the city of Monroe is lower than we are. However, they do not have to buy water. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They got a river.
And a reservoir.
Yeah.
Most all these entities do have their own water source or share a water source. Barrow has it, Winder has it, Social Circle has it, not sure about Brazelton. I know Gwinnett has it. I'm not sure about Brazelton. Do they have their own water source? Yes. But we're the only one, I think, that buys water or solely dependent on other entity.
And this chart, Danny, is with the 12%
Yes,
added to
the
it.
green is, yes.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then you see the peach color is the senior rate, the new proposed senior rate. So I like to be right in the middle, not in the bottom, not the highest, but right in the middle. And you'll see in commercial, it's the opposite, we're at the below. Commercial, very bottom, close to the bottom. Red is what we're currently at, $54.12 for 2,000 gallons of water and sewer. Purple would take us to $60.62. The biggest differences between us and every other entity is they charge based on the meter size of their water. But a lot of them don't have the higher tiers like we do, so it's almost a wash when you look at it that way. But if you're a minimum water customer, you're paying less than anyone else, except for Monroe, Social Circle. Oh, I have it right here, I'm sorry. I got it. I'm here now.
Danny, is Monroe also looking at their rates?
I'm not sure. I know Social Circle is, though. We've had I don't believe Monroe is, but I believe Social Circle is talking about it. But I will tell you, Gwinnett, they change it every year. Their rates go up every year. And now this is with 12%, this is what we're projecting. This is based off of last year's sales of water, which is extremely close to the year before. So the yellow column on the far right is 872,000, 734,000. That's what we're projecting. Stormwater at the bottom, 66,000. Reuse, $2,074 or $2,764. Water for both residential and commercial and senior, 180,000. And then sewer is 181,000. And then the tier, the peach column, the tier, that is based off anything outside that 2,000 gallons. That's based on what we billed last year, as close as we could get it. And I believe that's the last slide. But we did look at so many different ways, or Brandon and Joe looked at so many different ways to come up with different formulas, different calculations, and we just felt if we kept the same rate structure and just added 12%, that would be the safest, easiest to explain versus doing a base charge and then charging changing the tier structure. We went back to keep it simple to explain it. And then this extra 874,000, what are you going to do with that? That's the question. Well, for one, we're going to have to do some projects. And if we borrow the $10 million, you're looking at close to 700,000 on a 10-year deal. Currently, we're paying $550,000 on the 4.5 million that we borrowed for 10 years. But that interest rate was at 1.81. I called last night, spoke to the bond people. And right now, they think they can get us in the 3% range. So we would decide to either do a 10-year, 15-year on it, and they recommended that we would just do another supplemental bond. They didn't want us to roll the existing bonds into new one because the interest rate is so good at 1.8. We would just do a supplemental bond. For them, 10 million is not a lot. So they would encourage to do a supplemental like we did in 2019. So you're talking about 10 to 12 months to do a bond, and then probably another 6 months to actually start paying on that. So you're looking at 2026, probably early 2026, if the city council decided to do this. If you decided not to do an increase, we're not going to do the projects. It's literally that simple. His budget has not been set for this next year because until I know what to do, either I'm going to have to cut or we're going to have to do something different. But I will tell you that the current budget we in now, we had to reduce some projects to get it to balance. And our expenditures have went up tremendously.
Danny, what's going on with this city of Monroe in particular, outside annex city limits?
So they charge a different rate for if you're inside the city or outside the city. City of Loganville did that back in 96, 97, early 2000s, but then they got away from it in 2000.
Significant difference. I mean, big time, especially on commercial.
We were significantly different too, but for some reason during the recession, they went to just a flat fee.
They go from like $50 thereabouts, just roughly, to $222. Dang.
But their tiers are a little bit less than ours. Like Gwinnett County, I believe their tiers like $5.90, something like that, where ours may be $9. But their meter fee's $400, where ours is $29. So if you use a lot of water, it kind of works out the same. But if you don't use a lot of water, you're definitely coming ahead here versus another entity that charges a base fee for your meter size. There's only 577 commercial customers and 5,092 roughly residential. That number ebbs and flows every day. People come in, people leave. But roughly we figured 4,177 for residents, 828 for seniors, and then 577 for commercial.
Can you run that by me again?
577 for commercial, 827, what's that? Oh, yeah. 828 for seniors, and then 4,177 for the residents. But there are 418 Gwinnett County customers that may fall between residents and seniors that we have to subtract because we cannot touch their rates because it's Gwinnett County water, but we bill for them. But we're not allowed to adjust their rates, only the sewer rates.
Is the stormwater fee set by the state, or we're flexible on that?
It's been $5 since it was created.
I know we're saying now it's going to $5.60, or?
Well, we're requesting $5.60 for residents, and then whatever that calculation works out to. I have some. I'll tell you some high and low bills. These are actual bills that we pulled. So for an average commercial customer, this is a car wash, their stormwater bill was $31.16. So they would increase by $3.73. An average resident's entire bill, including water, sewer, and stormwater, would go up $9.73. That's an average. That's about 4,500 gallons of water. A low commercial account would go up $4.85 for water, $5.38 for sewer. A high residence usage of, this is 13,630 gallons, their bill would go up $24.10. A low resident customer of 700, they only use 730, would go up $5.98. An average senior citizen would go up $6.59. That's for everything. And here's a high commercial their bill would go up 676 for water, 631 for sewer. That's a 400,000 gallon a month customer.
Well, you said a car wash a while ago. What was their total bill? If they only went up $3 and something, what was their? Yeah, so who's using 600, and what kind of commercial?
That wasn't a car wash.
That was the stormwater, though.
A resident, I mean, that was a commercial customer.
Oh, I thought you said a car wash.
The $3.73 was for the stormwater
Stormwater
alone.
fee.
Okay.
I got two car washes here. One's 116,000 and one's 395,000
Gallons of water.
gallons of water. So the 1,116 is 187 for water and 174 for sewer. I think that's all we pulled. So I know it's not an easy choice to make, but, you know, it's a choice that, and, you know, people are gonna say, you know, last audit, you put away money. We did. But if you look at last year, and the biggest factor was tap fees. We had a lot more tap fees than we have now. I can
Well,
tell
I
you-
know I remember when we were gonna be buying the water from Monroe, we told the citizens, you know, that the water is cheaper coming from there. And so now they're gonna sit here and look at us going, well, you were getting cheaper water, but now you wanna go up 12% on our bill. And I understand it's for projects and things, but when we tell them, and then the certified audit, he came out and he said the water department was in fantastic shape, they're making a profit, they've got money and everything. I just think when you look at that, it's gonna be a hard sell to your average residential customer. Would feel better if we did more of a raise on the commercial end and a lower percentage on the residential end. I feel a little bit better
Yeah.
with that.
Well, you gotta also remember, 72% of all water and sewer sales is residential. You're only talking about a very small 28% is commercial. We did say that, and we did say it's gonna keep us from raising, but however, you gotta look at some huge factors, mainly the raises. We went up 26% in 1 year in his budgets, but we didn't go up 20%. The reason we're not going up more is because we're saving money on water and sewer. But also, you gotta look at development. Development's down. Just to give you an example, in fiscal year '22, we did 1.4 million in sewer tap fees, 729,000 in water taps. Currently, right now in fiscal year '24, we've collected 285,000 in water and 464 in sewer. So water and sewer combined don't even equal what we made in water taps in fiscal year '22. So we've done a lot of building in the last several years. That's why we've been putting away money. But just like, if you look at the fiscal year '23 audit, fiscal year '22 audit, fiscal year '21 audit, you will see our cash flow is going down and rate and expenditures are going up. It's the first thing the bond guy said, then your cash flow is going down, but you're still good. You're still the 2 to 1% threshold, where debt and revenue is 2 to 1. So right now, we're 2% revenue, 1% debt. Anytime that flips, that's not good, or it was equal. So our bond ratings, you know, went down because of that. But you also look at this. What projects have we done? Just, you know, none.
No, I agree. Everything's
So-
starting to catch up with us
Right.
age-wise and everything,
So-
and things are out there.
Either we react when it happens and then take out a reserve, but, you know, I do have to defend the reserve a lot because people say it's easy, it's low-hanging fruit, there's money just sitting there. But if we didn't have ARPA,
You would have taken
it
that,
has taken me 7 years to get to where it is today. And that's not spending money, that's doing the bare minimum. But when I'm actually cutting his projects, it's gonna catch up with us. So, we can do whatever the council wish,
Right.
but when projects come and then we get a consent order from the EPD saying, hey, your force main's gotta be replaced, and it's $2 million, it's gonna come out of reserve. And then, when they review us, because when you're in bond, every 30 days I have to do a review. Have you increased your rates? Have you decreased your rates? Have you lost customers? I have to answer those, because all those affect your rating. So anytime something happens, I have to report it every month. So I don't want to get in a position where I'm showing that we're losing money because it's coming out of reserve. You know, it's taking us a long time to build the reserve.
Explain this to me like I'm in kindergarten. So you want to take out basically a loan, a bond for the 10 million, whatever it is, to do all these projects at one time, get them off the board. And the proposed rate increase that you're proposing would bring in $872,734.80 a year, which that's going to fluctuate. How much on average on a year is a bond payment that you're going to be making?
Current bonding payment now for 4.5 million for 10 years is a little over 560,000 a year.
Okay,
At
so you have no idea what a 10 million,
Yeah, he said 750.
I'm assuming around 700,000, maybe more. I don't know. Because these projects are not, they're a rough engineer estimate.
right, this is the
But
ballpark, right?
it's a, more realistically, you're looking at probably 20% increase to that $10 million. We found that the hard way when we did the 2018 bond. We engineered it. We engineered it at 10 million. The bond said, hey, you're short. I'd add another 2 million. We went and added another 2 million. Went out to bid. It came in at 16 million. So we had to cut a ton of stuff to get it to 14 million. The money we had for the Monroe water line went to that. So then we had to go borrow 4.5 million now to pay the rest of the Monroe line plus the Walton County line. So that was the reason of the supplemental bond. So those two bonds, right now, you're paying $1.6 million a year with those two combined.
And you want to add a third bond or a okay. And then again, like you said, if these are just estimates on these projects, you know, and you only borrowed 10 million, then we're going to still be in a bad place.
Well, we'll be better than we are today.
Okay.
So we may only do 8 projects. We don't know until we go out to bid. It may be half of them. We don't know. But the market right now for construction is all over the place. You know, look at your LMIG. We projected 600,000. The highest bid came in at 1.4 million, and the lowest bid came in at 818,000. So we were 200 and something thousand. That's close to what, 20%? 30. So we were, you know, it's just until people turn in bids, we're just making an educated guess.
Well, and it's also building a program as opposed to just doing it when they break down too.
Yes. I mean, you can certainly do them one at a time, but I can promise you that today,
It's gonna cost
a
more.
1 mile extension is gonna be nothing compared 5 years down the road. But we have to get in the mindset that we have to start replacing these projects. But the current budget, unless we just cut staff, you're not gonna do it.
Now, just one more thing
Yeah,
too.
go ahead,
Your bond payment goes up too, right?
It goes up a little bit
Okay.
in year,
In 2029.
29, but then it's almost a wash, Bill, because then in 2028, the supplemental bond is paid off. So now we're losing that. So, you can go look at my desk and bring me that bond. It's a big sheet. So on the left side of my desk, I can tell you exactly instead of guessing. Because I know people's watching, they want to know exact numbers and we're gonna give them to them.
I have a couple questions. Could we phase out the seniors rate with new service? Like grandfather everybody in that sits now? But if somebody comes in and applies, that the senior's no longer available?
Any of this is optional. I just know that's a hot topic. But, you know, it's something that could be done.
I don't think the savings would warrant the bad blood it would create. You worked your whole life to be get to a certain age where you're supposed to be able to
Well, yeah,
have it a
but-
little easier. I mean, you're talking about only, what,
828.
577 folks. The majority of your water residential rates are coming from the
Yeah, I mean, you've got
4,100.
20,
Ah.
like 20%. I mean, I guess here's the thing, whether a 70-year-old drinks 10 gallons of water or a 5-year-old drinks 10 gallons of water, the cost of the city's the same. So if you left it in place as to not ruffle the feathers of the existing seniors, and just if you come in new to Loganville, new resident, it's not available, I mean, here's the problem. The council is dealing with 20 years of neglect to the budget. That's why the salaries got hammered by 20%. That's why we had to go up in property taxes. That's why we're fixing this. And now we have to do something. I mean, I think 15% is better than 12. So I mean, I would support it, but I don't know why you want to stick it to commercial. Like all of the residential uses the water. Why would you stick it to the business owners and not make it an even across the board?
Because the citizens are already, I mean, we squeeze them for every little thing that your people that live here. I mean, they get, 3.5 years ago, gas was $1.75 a gallon. It's $3.50 now. Eggs, milk, everything. And it just seems like what I hear from the citizens is we're just the goose that laid the golden egg, and every time you turn around, we're just getting squeezed.
Right, but our
And
expenses
commercial,
went up to
though, but
100%.
commercial, they have better ways to absorb this. They have more tax breaks.
Do
They have
you
more-
have a better way to absorb it? In
Do
your
I?
business? Yeah, because we're talking about your business and my business.
Right. Well, I mean, mine is increased in my rate, in my rent. It's paid by, my landlord pays it, and he adjusts my rent. So, yeah, then therefore, I do what I have to do to keep my business going.
Right.
As a business owner, then therefore, I have to do things. But people that make a salary, they can't go out and tell their boss, I need a raise because my water rates went up. As a business, I adjust my rates and things like that. The average homeowner doesn't have a way to make more money, so to speak. They're afraid even to rock the boat. They could lose their job.
We're
Where
talking about
businesses,
$9 a month.
for
That's a
some
cup of
people, that's a
coffee.
lot of money. For
It's a
some,
cup of
I'm just gonna
coffee.
say, but that's not, that 12 times 9 is what,
81
how much a year?
or 108,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, to some people, that's their car payment, that's their this, that's their that. I mean, I'm just speaking to you as somebody that has a lot of people that talks to them about
Well,
things, and that's what
I
I'm,
know that a lot of people talk to you, but as much as you talk about infrastructure, not just in here and everywhere else, I cannot believe that you are not behind fixing what we have to fix
I
because
think we do have to
didn't
fix
increase
it,
the
but I would
rates.
rather see a smaller increase for residential and a larger increase on commercial. Because look at over here on these rates. When you're looking at that chart, look at this. Where'd that go? Where's the commercial rates for other cities? I mean, look at
Last
that.
page.
We're way down here.
Right.
Look at these other people, they're up there. So other
residential's no
businesses in other
different.
cities are already paying way more.
Yeah, but look at the residentials. Look at where we are in the residential. It's no different.
We're in
I
the
mean,
middle on that, on the
No.
commercial, we're at the bottom. At least on the residential, we're in the middle.
Well, I will say on the commercial, because Bill asked the same question, you're going, Melanie, Walmart. Walmart would pay more in Loganville than they would in Gwinnett County, even though Gwinnett County's at $400 base fee for a 6-inch meter, but their tier rate is $5 and something, where ours is 10 to 14, depending on the usage. So the more water you use, the higher we go up. But if you're like Ann's a minimum water bill, I'm sure yours is probably a minimum water bill. You're paying smaller, where in another city, you may have a 1-inch meter. I don't know how your business is. It may be a little bit more. I'm just looking at what we need to fund projects and, what we can get by with. And I don't think you can put it all on the commercial, because there's only 577 commercial, and only 11 of them out of the 577 are 4 inches or larger in meter. 400 and something was 1 inch, which is the same as a residential. So when we looked at the meter size, that's when we're talking about going up $100 a month on commercial a month. If we went to the minimum meter size like others, I think you would have a lot of you'd have 470 customers come up here demanding, That's why we quickly said, "Yeah, this is not, you can't explain this, you can't justify this." So that's why we went to a simple 12%, because 12% is 12%, no matter if you're a senior, a commercial, or a resident, you're paying that 12%, depending on what you use. It's just a lot simpler to justify, versus going to a meter size. But I just know that we had to start doing some large-scale projects soon rather than later. ARPA money, we got 1.8 million left. It's gonna run out, then we have an option. I can tell you what we've
know.
done up to this moment. We don't,
Right.
unless, you know, we get a consent order from EPD, which, you know, if you was here in 1997, that was the first thing Chris got hit with, consent orders. They're not asking you, they're telling you, you're gonna fix the plant. So that's why there's a big push to fix the plant. The plant was in such ill shape. That's why our focus has been nothing but plant. Well, now everything outside the plant is catching up because it's aging. A lot of this infrastructure was built in the 90s or the 80s, or mostly the 90s. We had a big boom. Just like we had a boom in, you know, the last couple of years with a lot of buildings coming out of the ground. So guess what? In 20 years from now, that's going to come on, you know, come to a place where it needs to be repaired. I'm just trying to find a way that we can get revenue to sustain a payment, because I'd rather borrow the money and do a larger project and more projects, because money is cheaper today than it is tomorrow. We know that.
Correct.
But we're gonna have to start doing something, because the Chandler Hawk force main really opened my eyes to the seriousness of it, because every time they went to replace it, it would crack 10 feet up the pipe. They had to keep digging and keep digging. A lot of these projects on this list are the same era as Chandler Hawk, so.
Danny,
But, you know,
when was the last water rate adjustment?
2020.
So in 5 years, you said 12% difference.
Mm-hmm.
And we know inflation's been considerably more than that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to have some figures on some of your supplies. I understand.
Well, we did look at that.
Out of sight.
The plant has helped us, saving the water. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to understand that you're paying $6 from Walton to buy water versus $3.80 from Monroe. You're saving money. That savings has carried us to this point. But tap fees is what's hurting us. We're not getting them. All this stuff that was zoned in 2001, 1999, the Logan Point, the cottages, the maxi price, all the stuff that we got criticized for letting them come in was already zoned before y'all was even here, before I was even here. That's all built out now. So what we have left, Tuck Farm, it may or may not come. We just did the 60 homes off of Line Street. And then we got Donald Kemp's property, 30 acres. After that, there ain't but one tract left to build, and that's Troy Porterfield, 20 acres. There's no more building. We're going to tap out on land. But guess what? You may deny it. You deny it, there's guaranteed no tap fees, because you didn't allow them to build. So it's a balancing act. And just for everybody to know, tax money does not pay for enterprise funds. Because a lot of people say, well, my taxes fund you. No, it doesn't. Your sale of water and sewer funds it, but not tax money. I cannot transfer tax money to pay for these projects. I can give them a loan for 12 months, but then I got to pay it back. So there's 100 different ways we can do this. We can not do it. We can reduce it. I'm just trying to see what a bond payment would be for those 11 projects and trying to make a way that we can pay for it. That's our goal.
I think it's fair to say too, you've been working on this for a couple of months. You've gone through numerous scenarios, and the whole water meter in tiered water costs. It's complex. You've ended up coming up with this 12%, just like Ann said. Well, maybe we could even go to 15%. It wouldn't be a big deal, but a flat rate, it's just across the board. It's easy to understand.
I even looked at doing a $3 flat fee for water and sewer for everybody. That's a 13% increase, just on the base. So this is a 12%, so it's like $12.72 for residents. Seniors like $12 and whatever, I mean, you can do the math. It is increased, I understand that, but your gas rate goes up, your fuel goes up, everything that goes up on everybody in this room independently, like my fuel, my electric,
Sure it does.
is going up on the city. We have been able to absorb that, and we're doing good. We did put away money. But you also got to look at where that money come from. A lot of it came from tap fees. But we're selling the same water now as we did last year.
Do you have any idea, Danny, what it would do to commercial rates if you went up 10% on residents?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
I mean, we did, this council, this committee does have those
well,
options
you got your
too.
calculator, and I can
Sure.
let y'all do it for me, because I can tell you.
We can
So,
fluctuate.
last fiscal year, we sold $3,650,000 in water, times 10% is $360,000. 12%, it's 401 or something like that, 408. Sewer, we sold $3,050,000 in sewer, citywide. Times 10% is 300,000. That's 600,000 versus 800,000. That's what you're talking about. Now, they're going, well, that doesn't include stormwater, but you can do stormwater. Stormwater is 550,000 times 10% is $55,000. So you add that back in there, and that's what 10% would do.
But that's-
10%.
that-
Go ahead.
Was that 10% for just residential, or is that across the
It's
board?
10% across the board. So in the city of Loganville, what we bill and what we collect is $6,000,000, either $550,000 or $650,000. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it's one of those annually, and that's consistent with this year.
And I think, I don't know if I mistake what Skip was asking. He was were you asking, could we do 10% for residential and 12 or 13% for commercial? Is that what
What
you're
would
asking?
it take to offset the 2% difference that you charge in residential?
You would probably have to go up to at least 15 or 16% for commercial, because you got to remember, 72% of that 6 million is strictly residential. The other 28% is commercial.
I know, but I'm just looking at where we fall, not only position-wise on commercial, but also dollar-wise. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah, but you got to also, like I said, typically commercial uses a lot of water. So this is just, instead of us doing a sheet for every single entity at different tiers, this was a simple tier at 2,000 gallons. But, or, like I said, Gwinnett County is at $5.92. We're at $7.33 for first year. Then it goes to $9. Then it goes to $14. Gwinnett's $5.92 across the board.
Okay, and you looked at averages as far as water usage for residential. Do you also looked at averages for commercial? So what was the average commercial water use?
Oh, no, I'm not. For a different one.
If I was some of these businesses, I'd move to Loganville.
Right, and we can still charge them more.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I think that this is the average bill, so we don't have a lot of industry. Like the Brazelton city would be up and down the 85 corridor with all those big businesses, so I'm not really sure that this is a complete apples to apples, given that the
I'm not
demographic of the
either.
commercial is very different.
The difference is, if you look, if this, on the residential, you're averaging around 3,000 or 4,000 gallons, so this curve probably works okay. But when the commercial's up
Yeah,
to,
it gets skewed
it's
because
skewed because of the.
we're so night and day different from
Right.
anybody else how we bill. No. Our, like I said, our
Well, I mean,
70,
take that out and you start down here with the city of Winder, it would be a little more comparable, and Monroe, and we're down here at 50-something, they're still up in $200 and $300s, you know, $200 and $300 for that. So, I mean, we're, with Loganville, we're at the very bottom of this, I mean,
Right, but that's the sewer main size. We don't bill that way.
So,
So we talked about doing the sewer main size, like we took my business. You know, I can't control what the sewer main is, but I think my bill would have gone from, what do we say,
$100.
$52 to $175?
yeah,
With no change in water, no change in anything, only because I have a 2-inch? I have a 2-inch going to Hampton Place.
yeah, that.
So how do you tell a commercial business that has no water change that their business is gonna triple the cost of their water bill over something they can't control?
I'm not saying go to the water main size, I'm just saying on the percentage, that they just pay a little higher percentage and ease it back on the residential side. I mean, we did it with garbage. I mean, the residential people collecting garbage did this, and then we made the commercial people pay more in garbage. So if you're gonna do that, why not do it with the water as well? You back it off on your residents, and you let the companies that are coming in here making millions of dollars off of these same citizens,
I mean, we can
and
do
let them pay
10%
a little bit more.
10% on resident.
All I'm saying
and
is
then-
that your comparison to rates at a 2-inch and a 4-inch main is probably
Right.
not right either.
No, I mean, yeah,
So would it be fair to say, okay, if Danny takes it, right now we're at 12% across. If Danny were to go in and say, if we do 10% on the residential and then see what percentage it would be on the commercial so that it equals out the same revenue, then we would have a choice when we came to council of which
I
one
would like to see those numbers.
to do that.
I don't like that, but okay.
Okay, so 10 and 12, or 10 and whatever.
10 and
equals?
whatever it would
10 and
need to be,
whatever.
15, whatever it needs to be
Yes, it'd
to,
probably be around 14 to 16.
But then you need to, yeah, just take a look. And then, and we could bring that as a committee to the council, and then we can bring the question of phasing out the seniors. I mean, just like Ann says, if,
I agree with that, mainly because you did say, refresh me a little bit, we're the only city that offers a senior rate.
Correct.
That's amazing. I'm shocked.
So here's your bond. I know you asked about that. So the bond payment we made in fiscal year '23 for the series 2018 bond was $1,043,450. The 2019 bond payment was $573,553.50. So total fiscal year, we spent $1,617,003.50 on a bond payment. And that bond payment in 2024, this year, and this coming up next month or two, we will send them a check for $1,620,432. 2025, it goes back to 1.617. 2026, 1.618. 2027, 6.17. 28, 1615. And then the 2019 series stops because we did 10 years. And then 2019, it actually goes up. Well, the 2018 bond goes up from $1,044,000 to $1,376,000, but we lose the 2019 bond, so the bond payment it goes from 1.6 in 2028 to 1.376 in 2029 and carries all the way to fiscal year 2038. And that last payment will be $55,000.
They're
So-
recommending if you bond out 10 million now, that you do it for 10 years.
10 to 15, we would have to look at the, we'll just have to see what the payment would be.
Agreed.
But, you know, we may do these 10 projects, but we're still gonna have other things that need to be replaced.
I understand.
These are just Brandon's top 10 that he knows, that he said, these are my priority.
When does a big $20 million bond go away?
2038.
2038,
You always have bond payments.
so that's 14 more years. So what, is it possible we could bond this at 20 years?
Possibly.
And reduce the payments in the first 10? That's, I don't know.
What do you mean, the new bond?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can set it up where you pay less and pay more. That's what we did in 2018 because we said we're gonna have this growth, right, come in, but then COVID happened. And then buildings slowed down. That's why our payment goes up. It goes up $300 and something thousand in 2028 because we were projecting a 10-year short term, and then the next 10 years, we will have more stuff than we can afford it. That's the thinking, right? But just look at the city of Loganville, there's not a whole lot left to build other than those 3 tracts of land I said, unless you annex outside the city or somebody asks to be annexed outside the city. But there is no sewer, no water outside the city. So,
And we do potentially have more commercial coming with a few things we got going.
possibly. But to answer the question of how I would say, well, you know, you put away money, now you're asking for a raise and increase, well, I can show you on paper, the tap fees are going down. I mean, it's simple. No, I mean, we could do one project, take it out of reserve, you know, we put,
we're depleting the money we built up from tax fees.
well, it went to, yeah, it was part of the money that went to unassigned. But also, on the other side of the accounting world, you got the depreciation that hit full force last year. That's $2 million that we didn't have. We had some of it, but we didn't have the full 2 million because, you know, everything came online. In enterprise, I have to depreciate everything that we buy. It has a timeline. You literally take money from your bank account and you put it in paper money that can never be touched until that asset has depreciated to the 0 or you sell it. But you can't sell water lines. You can't sell plant expansions. You have to let the time run out on those projects. So, we understand it's tough for y'all to do, but it's kind of like millage rate that I preached from day one when I got here. We never raised taxes, we never fought it, but eventually something's gonna happen where you're gonna have to. In that first year, in 2018, my first year as city manager, we hit 1 point something mil raise versus doing a little bit out of loan. We stopped raising water rates in 2020. And we haven't done it since. And those were only 2%, 88 cents, y'all, a month. So I think we've done very well managing everybody's money and what we've got as far as projects, but you can't increase your expenditures by 26% and not increase your revenue. It will eventually catch up, and it's catching now.
And we'll continue to pay if we continue to kick the can down the road. I mean, these costs aren't.
Somebody
going
will.
down. Needs are going to increase.
Somebody will.
Can I explain something too?
Sure.
Just to reference, because Melanie made a good point about putting the money away. So we did, but it's because we didn't spend the money. So it's just like your home budget. If you anticipate that you can't afford something that you had budgeted for, you don't buy it. So when your paycheck comes in, you've got that $500 sitting here. That's exactly how we treated it. Plus, we deferred his emergency expenses to ARPA, capital recovery, SPLOST. So your other revenue sources helped him in his budget. That is the only reason we were able to put away money in his reserves. So I just wanted to explain it that way too, because it's not because we brought in extra revenue, it's because we didn't spend the money we had budgeted for in that budget that year. That's why we put it away.
You know, nobody knows what we're gonna put away at the end of the year. It's not like we know we're gonna have $1 million in the year and now go do a project. We don't know that because we have no idea what's gonna happen tomorrow. But I can't do a project in January and then something happens in March. Now we're taking out a reserve. It takes a long time to build that reserve. It's literally taken 7 years to build it to where it is now. But I could spend all of it right now on probably these projects. But you'd default on your bills, and then you wouldn't own the plant no more. Somebody else would.
And then the
The bond.
Yeah, well, then the bond won't be
Then
secure.
the bond comes in.
And your bond company can call your bond and say, hey, now I want my 20 million because you ain't got no money.
And they can adjust your rates too, right? So, it's like a obligation bond. They, you know, when you do a revenue or for general fund, you sign a release saying that anytime we default, you can raise our millage rate X to produce this revenue. Same thing with the water bond. That's why we don't waive tap fees. That's why we don't reduce water rates. And that's why we send a monthly report every single month to DACA, the bond company that reviews us. And every year we get a review. So, goal is get some more revenue coming in so we can do more projects. It's that simple. And the bond money can only be used on the projects that it was bonded for. It cannot be used for anything outside. It's like SPOS. It's a very restrictive fund that can only be used for the projects you identify in that bond document. Those who have been fortunate enough to be on a bond, you understand what I'm talking about. It's not a short process. It's a very lengthy process. And you can't borrow this kind of money from a bank. And we try to get grants through CDBG, but they will not give us projects for Walton County because we're in the Gwinnett side. And I think every one of these projects was in Walton, correct? Most of them? So, any questions I can answer, or Brandon?
So I think as a committee, I think the consensus would be that having a program to a capital improvement program is a right thing, right approach to taking care of our infrastructure. I think that's fair enough. You know, approaching it with, you know, some type of increase in fees is necessary. We can evaluate the options. I still like the flat 12%, but we can look at it and see what the difference is. We should bring that to the council. We know that, you know, yeah, it's important that we go ahead and bring it to the council now, because you've got to get your budget finalized by the end of June.
Well, I gotta have it done in May.
Yes, but I mean, that's why we're going to bring it to you.
I would like to proceed with a 12%, so I cannot finish this budget until I know one way or the other, put this money in or not put this money in. Because I can do the budget and turn around and let y'all approve it and then come back after y'all approve the budget and do an amendment, if that's what y'all prefer.
I think we're in agreement on the revenue, so
Well,
it doesn't matter.
yeah, I agree with that. It seems like
So, yeah, do your
that
budget.
we're okay that 12% is the right one according to what I'm hearing. The question is, are we gonna get it 10 from the residents or 12? And then make the offset difference from commercial is the two options. Is that what you see?
Right.
Ann? That's the way you're hearing it?
That's what I'm hearing.
I like to do that.
Melanie?
12 and 15%. I mean, if you want to grab more from commercial, do 12% to residents and 15% to commercial. I mean, I think we have to take a decisive step. But yes, I think we're all up for whatever 12% equals whatever the allocation ends up being. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, Bill, you need a motion and a
Well, I don't
second. You
read-
don't need to vote. What you gonna take to the council?
So just give you a rough estimate. You're looking at $4.47, 10% per resident versus 12% at $5.37. Difference of 90 cents. I mean, that's just the base, not the water rates. That's just the base, 2,000 gallons, rough math. It's $23.04 for water and $21.79 for sewer. And seniors is different. Seniors is $17.79 and $21.79.
Pretty close, Melanie. What do you think? Just go with the 12%?
I mean, y'all will have your 4 votes. I won't vote for that because I want to do a prorated where it's smaller for the residents and let your commercial
Well, I
absorb a
would
little bit
definitely
more.
do 10 and 12. I'm just letting you know you're
Right.
talking about 90 cents a month. But I will definitely do a 10 and see what the other one is, what it equates to, just for y'all in May. You know, doesn't matter how we work it, the end of the number's gonna be
Right,
the
as
same.
long as you get your 12%.
So I'm
right.
gonna look at doing his budget with 800 or whatever that number was and showing it. And then whatever if we change it drastically, then we'll just have to do a budget amendment after July, correct? As long as y'all are okay with that.
But being fair, that was not a bad suggestion that Ann had. We're so low on the commercial side, we might could get a little ahead of the game if the decision is doing 12 on residents and do 15 on
But we don't,
commercial.
but we don't know what that number is.
I understand where you're
So-
coming from.
I mean, it sounds fine.
Because obviously, we're gonna be under the gun for 20 years or whatever we bond it for.
If we say, go ahead with your 12%, and then we hammer it out in council in May, do you still have to do a budget amendment?
Depends on when I gotta advertise the budget a week before we vote on it.
But we normally do that in June, right?
We can, I like to do it in May.
But it'll be advertised after the council meeting though, right?
It would be the same as the council,
No, you would advertise the budget after the council meeting.
before the May meeting. I have to do my public hearing, I would like to do my public hearing in May.
End of
And
May?
then approve it in May too, at the council meeting. But we can go to June, as long as it's approved by July 1, we're good.
Then let's plan to go, I mean, I know you don't want to do that, but I mean, even if we have to have a called council towards the end of May to approve the budget,
If you're okay with that, then I'm fine, it gives us more time. You go with that, Nana? As long as it's approved by, I mean, we can do it even June 1st. But I hate doing the last month because something could happen, like last time, the paper didn't get it advertised,
right?
and we had that
Well,
was
if
for
that
May.
happens, we'll do a called council.
Yeah,
I mean,
I just-
so can we plan to do this in May and the budget in
Sure.
June?
if that's y'all's wishes,
Is that okay with you guys?
you're
good with
finance
me.
chair.
And that gives you guys a little bit of extra time. And run with the 12%, and then we'll hammer it out in council in May.
Okay.
Does that sound?
Well, I'll
good?
just look at the whole number, and then I'll just
Yeah,
play
how
with
it's
the
gonna allocate
percentages
them. Yep.
to meet your, if you feel more comfortable with that.
So I'll make a motion that we will proceed with a net 12% revenue, and with the idea that we'll
Look at Taylor.
Look at-
Okay.
tailor the residential and commercial, maybe slightly different. Is that, I have a motion and a second? All in favor? Aye? All opposed? All right. And then we'll also bring to the table the phase out of the seniors. Make that as a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye? All opposed?
I can't say nothing.
Well, huh? Yeah, I opposed the raising of the, yeah, but it's, they got to get to the,
Keeping the existing, phasing out the new.
yeah.
Or you can just cap it. That's what we kind of do with trash.
What do you mean, cap it?
You just say, after we hit a magical number, we allow no more seniors. Like, on trash, you have what's called curb service. They have a cap, that they will only do so many. That was negotiated in the contract. So when we hit that cap, then nobody else gets, that's in theory, but I think we still do it. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're at 828 seniors now, so, I mean, you're talking about capping
You
out
could say,
the number.
anytime
But
we
when
hit
one rolls out, one can roll in,
no more than
so many at a time,
900 seniors.
at a given time.
I mean, people overflow every month in
Yeah.
water.
I'd just be done with it. Just be done with it.
Look, I'm hanging on to live to be 62. Don't take my reduced water rate from me. Come on, man.
All right, anything else?
Chief looks to come back to work possibly next week. So,
Good news.
got anything else? I don't think we have anything else in utilities.
All right,
Nothing.
motion to adjourn? All in favor, get up.